Chromosome 21 is a real TV show. This is sadly not satire. Chimps have 2 pairs of 24 chromosomes. Humans have 2 pairs of 23 chromosomes. I guess that means that the residents of Clown World have 2 pairs of 21. Speaking of the residents of Clown World, they prefer security to freedom, which is why so many of them are adherents to the teachings of Karl Marx. Communism prefers material possessions and ignores the spiritual aspect of man. Reagan said, "Socialists ignore the side of man that is the spirit. They can provide you shelter, fill your belly with bacon and beans, treat you when you're ill. All the things guaranteed to a prisoner or a slave." What did he mean by the side of man that is the spirit? Well, our Bill of Rights doesn't promise you commodities like cars or houses or healthcare, but it promises you intangible things like freedom of speech, due process, the liberty to worship as you please. Aristotle said that primitive people were too unsophisticated to appreciate things of the spirit. They wanted tangibles, things they could see. Hence they undervalue freedom and overvalue stuff. Only too late did they learn that the cheese is always free in the rat trap. It's the burden of elevated men and women to try to remind them. But as Machiavelli wrote, it is as difficult and dangerous to try to liberate a people that wishes to live in slavery as it is to try to enslave a people that wishes to live in freedom. The political right has run into this fact as they attempt to market freedom to people who don't want freedom. They want free healthcare, free phones, free housing. De Tocqueville warned about this in 1820 in his book Democracy in America. He said that every people had to struggle for its own independence. If African slaves, he warned, didn't fight for their liberty and others fought for it on their behalf, then great evils would arise from this. This isn't a racial observation so much as a sociological one, because no sooner than they freed the slaves than a certain percentage of them fought to get back onto the vote plantations. This happened back in England. With the Black Plague came the end of serfdom. Average people acquired political rights because in the wake of the pandemic there were so few people. Scarcity imparts value, so the common people now had leverage to negotiate for political rights. While some people took advantage of this new independence, many bitterly resented the instability of being off of the aristocrats' plantations. Wandering tradesmen fought for a regular situation back on the very plantations they had previously been freed from. For others not so lucky, crime exploded as ex-serfs who were now freed had no means to support themselves. They wandered the countryside, stealing to stay alive. This was 1300s England. It was extremely similar to the Reconstruction period after the Civil War. Subsequent to emancipation, ex-slaves with no advanced training and a 98% illiteracy rate couldn't find a job. W.E.B. Du Bois rose to fame writing about the crime explosion after the end of the Civil War, the home invasions, the rage killings of random people. It was this sociological phenomenon that people pre-Civil War worried about. Almost all of them wanted to free the slaves, but to do it when they were at such a disadvantage would be to see a repeat of England in the 1300s. Jefferson was confronted with the fact that of all forms of government, republics were the hardest to maintain. Why? They require an educated populace. His solution, though, wasn't to return to tyranny. It was to educate the populace up to freedom. Today we have a political and economic system that wants to dumb people down to materialism, subservience, and slavery. When you see a young person singing the praises of authoritarian China, it's like someone looking to break into prison. Like that O. Henry story of the hobo, who purposely throws a brick through a window so that he could spend the winter in prison and get 3 square meals and have a warm place to stay.
Have you made any plans for the winter yet, Mr. Throckmorton?
You may call me Soapy, Horace.
Thank you, sir. Have you?
Naturally.
You ain't thinking of going to jail again, are you?
And why not?
Because jails ain't what they used to be. They're letting them run down something awful. They say almost anybody can get in them nowadays.
My dear fellow, you must not listen to every rumor you hear. From long experience, I can assure you that our fair city boasts of no finer institution than its penal system. What is more to the point, I am a man of simple, if discriminating tastes. 3 months in jail, safe from wind and snow, and the bludgeons of the blue-coated minions of the law. Good morning, officer. 3 months, I say, of assured bed, board, and congenial company at the city's expense are all I ask of life.
Isn't that a little reminiscent of young people today, riding in cities, committing property damage, and literally throwing bricks through windows? The New American Magazine is now on Locals. It's a for-pay platform for like $5. It gives you access to extra content and allows you to support your favorite hosts. As I said before, think of it like throwing some coins into the cup of a street performer. Check it out at thenewamerican.locals.com.